Welcome back to our video series on how to play Nothing Personal. In this video, I'm going to show you how to play the first phase of each round, which is placing influence cards. Now, placing influence cards is important. Whoever controls the ring is going to start this round, and they are going to go around the table. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to have a handful of these influence cards, and you'll get more influence cards between turns, but you're going to be playing these influence cards to do various things as the game goes by. Each influence card can be used in multiple ways. You can always, on your turn, discard an influence card, ignore everything on the card. Everything, and that will allow you to place one influence on anybody on the board of your choice. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. You're able to just put an influence on anybody you want by discarding a card from your hand. But usually use a card for one of two things. You will either use it for the top icon in the top left-hand corner, which allows you to place influence on the board, or sometimes a card will say "or" on it, in which case you ignore the top half and you do whatever the bottom half says. Here it says you can remove 2 of your influence tokens to remove any 4 other influence tokens off the board. Now, most of the time when you play these cards, at the top here, this allows me to place 3 influence on a gambler. So I look for someone who has the gambler icon, and we see here that Joe has the gambler icon, so I can place 3 influence on him. So if I'm the orange player, I would place 3 on him. I can't split this between 2 different gamblers. I put all of it on Joe. And of course, since MacFito has all the tokens on him, the guy who starts as the cap at the beginning of the game, I could always put it all on him. Here's a card that lets me put 3 influence on a hitman. Here's one that lets me put 2 on a gambler and 2 on a hitman. So I could put 2 here on Joe and 2 on Sam. So playing that card, I could put 2 more on Joe and 2 on Sam. Or I could put 4 on Joe because he's a gambler and a hitman. He meets both the requirements of this card, where it says put 2 on a gambler and 2 on a hitman. Other cards allow me to place 2 influence on any gangster, the kind of a wild card. Here I can play 3 on a very specific position. It says place 3 on the enforcer. And so we can see here that Donnie is in the enforcer position. It doesn't matter what type of gangster he is. It lets me put 3 on him, so I can go ahead and put 3 on him there. So players are going to be placing these influence cards. When they play one of these influence cards, they will discard it, and then play goes to the next player. As you play influence cards around the table, you can decide to pass at any time. Perhaps you want to save influence cards for a future turn. If you do this, then you're out of this round. You cannot come back in after you passed. Once all players pass, the round is over. Some cards say "and" on them when you put out influence. This one here says place 3 on the enforcer, and I must allow another player to place 1 influence on any position. You must choose another player to place an influence, but who do you choose? Well, you can pretty much choose anybody you want. They can bribe you with money. They can threaten you with threats. They can plead with you. They can do anything they want. And so you can make any sort of deal with them you want. You could say, for example, I'll take a bunch of money from you. And so they give you money. However, you might say to Joe, give me $3. Joe gives you $3. And then you say, Bob, I'm going to let you place the 1 influence anywhere you want. And then Bob chuckles and laughs and places an influence on someone, even though Joe's the one who paid you the money. So no deal in this game is ever binding. However, if it says on the card that you must allow another player to do something, then you must allow somebody to do it. And so this is how cards are played during this phase. There are some cards in this phase that say place 1 influence on the enforcer here and place a blackmail token under this. So when that happens, you'll take one of these gold coins, these blackmail coins, place it underneath your influence and put that on the enforcer. That shows that you've blackmail on him, and I'll talk more about that when I go over the crew phase. Now remember, the player with the ring goes first when placing cards in the commission phase. Everybody can play an influence card going around a table, and you keep playing till everyone passes. However, after everyone has played their first card, everyone can always play 1 card, no problem at all. After that happens though, Once it gets back to the capital, a player may pay money to the bank when they play a card. So let's say, for example, I play this card and I pay $2 to the bank. And what that means is everyone else now must pay $2 to the bank when they play a card, or they cannot play a card. Now, a player can decide to pay more money to the bank. They can say, oh, you said 2, I'm going to make it 3, I'm going to make it 4, and pay that money. Some play groups never do this. They never ante up any money like that. Other groups can do it just because if you have a lot of money, you can effectively stop other players from playing. One thing that's important to note, though, is that a card in your hand is always worth $8. So you can always discard a card at any time. It's not an action. It's a free thing. You do it on someone else's turn whenever you want for $8. So if someone else has anteed, $4 and you don't have any money, you can discard a card from your hand, get the $8, use 4 of that to pay so that you can play one of your other cards. So this is how the commission phase works. You're going to continue going around so everyone passes or is forced to pass. When that happens, we head to the crew phase.